You as you continue to make films, you realize that there's this things are interconnected in a way that's profound. I think when you're a child, you're consumed in your own world, and you are the center of the universe, and everything seems to somehow, there's a inherent narcissism, and it's important as we evolved psychologically that we have this narcissism at the beginning. But what's shocking to me is how some people and some societies never lose that narcissism, that they continue to maintain that they are at the center of things. And in my observation, the moment that we understand that we are really part of something much bigger than us, that we are just part of that, the more healthy we are as individuals and as societies as well. And I think one of the advantages of being in Canada is that you are surrounded by, imperial cultures. The imperial culture of America, the imperial culture of England, the imperial culture of France. We are so aware of that, but we have formed something which is much more open as a society. And this is a huge part of my understanding, how privileged I am to have been a part of this social experiment, because Canada is a social experiment, no question about it. Yeah.
Why were you interested to work with?
I will leave my producer to answer that. I mean, a film like Captive, I'm the producer as well, and I can talk about the structure of how it was produced. But Remember is something I was directing, and I'm not quite sure. And I think in the workshop we'll understand that perspective, because it's a technical perspective. And I would rather the producer explains that.
Talking about the creative aspect of this new movie, can you tell us a little bit? What's the idea? How to tell the story?
Yes, the story is very unique. It's a character that we've never seen before, and I can say that with absolute conviction. When I read this, I realized this was a very unusual opportunity to tell a completely new narrative based on a person who is a victim of World War II, of the horror of Holocaust, but not in the way that you think. That's all I'll say.
First of all, why are you interested in these topics related to the Holocaust, to war, above all, coming from the country you come from, or what are you interested in about all these happenings and depicted through the human being?
Well, I have to say that I'm a Canadian, but I'm also an Armenian, and as an Armenian, that's a huge part of your identity. Because now in 2015, and it's the 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, and still it's not resolved. Still it's a question. Still there's this need to find justice, to have the perpetrator admit to this crime. It's almost incomprehensible maybe for someone looking at this piece of history to understand that it's still an open wound. So I think I'm a part of two cultures. I'm part of one culture which comes from a history of extraordinary violence, where my grandparents were orphans of this genocide, where my family line stops at my grandparents. There's no other family line beyond that because it's been eradicated. And yet I live in a country which is so blessed with resources and an openness, a transparency, which is really unique. So it's a combination of these two things in my life, which I think, makes me unusual, maybe.
What could you say about Plummer?
Well, besides the fact that I think he's one of the greatest actors in the English language, the role he's playing in this film is shockingly original and unusual, and it needed someone very specific, and I was blessed that we had a very good experience working on Ararat many years ago, and that I was able to have him play this role. He's as I was saying, he's a victim, but not in the way you understand or think. It's a radical reinterpretation of what being a victim means.
What do you find in the story about this guy?
This is not my script. This is a script written by an American who's been living in Vietnam, who married a Vietnamese woman, who came back to America and was shocked at how America had forgotten the legacy of the Vietnam War. And so he created this script which is dealing with Holocaust, because he's Jewish, the writer, but he refracts it in this way which is completely unexpected. But it's very interesting to me that it's inspired by his shock at the collective amnesia about the Vietnam War, and he takes it back to his own history as a Jewish person living with the legacy of Holocaust.
What is the name? Who's the script writer?
His name is Benjamin August.
What is your relationship as an artist with technology and, for example, internet and the possibility to spread all your work around the world immediately?
Well, this was a technology I couldn't even imagine when I started making films. I mean, I think that I came from a tradition where I needed to find distributors, I needed to find people who would physically make my work available, and that a young filmmaker now can do this with a push of a button. And it's just so shocking, this radical transformation. I just was giving a talk to students a few weeks ago about how the way in which a media artist has found that the process of making the work available is so easy, raises so many other issues about how we tell stories. Yeah, I am, but I'm also, and this is a question I've been asking myself a lot in the last couple of years. My language is based on a concentration on the part of the viewer. And so when films were being made for cinema, you had the viewer's attention for an hour and a half. It's almost like a piece of live theater. And I think that that there are so many possible narratives that we are exposed to now through the internet, and we cross-reference and we restructure the way we understand those narratives almost spontaneously without understanding what the effect of that technology is on the way we understand reality. You know, it's interesting as a Canadian because I was raised with Marshall McLuhan and the idea that the medium is the message, and yet the medium of the internet has exploded this idea in a profound way. And the way that we gather information, the fact that we can look at multiple narratives, we'll be watching a film, and then we can hear a word, and we can go on the internet or our smartphone and be researching that as we're watching the film. This to me is, I've made a couple of short films which are meditations on this that are on the internet. One was for the Cannes Film Festival, and one was for the Venice Film Festival, looking at how these alternate information systems affect our cinema experience. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because the script was so provocative and so it had all the complexity of this chronology, but held in a very straightforward narrative because of the exceptional imagination of the screenwriter. Yeah, but maybe you have to see the film and make that statement. So yeah. No, Guillermo del Toro is a genius. I am not a genius. No, he is really a genius. He lives a lot in Toronto now. I was just saying, and I've talked to all these people who work with him, and I know all the people who have the bookstores in the city, and they say he keeps coming in and buying more and more books and discussing them, and I think, okay, this is a genius. Oh, of Guillermo? Oh, Pan's Labyrinth, I think, is really great. Yeah.
Have you seen Kronos?
And Kronos as well. Yeah. But I liked. His obsession with his childhood, and it's really so remarkable. And no, he's an amazing person.
Can you tell us a little bit something about the character of Rosario Dawson? I think she's going to be here.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very happy she's coming. Yeah.
Maybe if you have any chat with her, if you know her personally, or as a...
Well, Rosario is also very involved in questions of justice for female violence against violence against women, and so she embraced this role in a very unusual way, because in the film she plays a detective, but she's also a spokesperson for this cause, and it really intersects with her life in a very unusual way, because she is a spokesperson for so many causes, and she has an openness. She's such a wonderful. You'll see if you meet her, she's so open and she's so available, and it's amazing what she gave to this film. Like, really, I'm so thankful that she could play it. Well, the biggest question that a filmmaker has after they choose the story is what level of financing they need. And to understand that, if you can be, for the stories that you think have a smaller public, you have to be very realistic in terms of how you raise that budget. And that, well, if you need a larger budget, then you have to play by the rules of the system, But what's beautiful now is that, I can make a personal film for no budget at all because of the technology available to me. So I've made a film called Citadel I shot in Lebanon a few years ago, which was shot entirely digitally with no budget at all, very limited distribution. But that's okay. I got to make the film. But when you make a film like The Captive or Remember, these are larger projects, and so you have to play by the rules. And I think there's a very interesting story when we do the workshop of how the producers raise the money for Remember. When I raise the money for my own films, like The Captive, I'm very realistic about how much money I can raise, what I need to do in order to raise that amount. And my films have gradually increased in budget over the years. Over 50. The films that I've produced, I'm very cautious about understanding what my limitations are.
Some people say that a trilogy could kill cinema because now anyone can make a film, but not everyone's got the talent to do that. Is that good or is that bad?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it puts a lot of pressure on the festival directors because they are the gatekeepers. Yes, there's so many films that are available, but when you come to a festival like Los Cabos or something where you have to have a very high demands of the programmers to make a selection from this extraordinary number of submissions. I mean, I've seen it in Toronto. The number of submissions because of the digital revolution have quadrupled. Because so many people are submitting films, but you hope that the programmers are able to keep standards very high. there was a time when the mere act of making a film suggested that there was a degree of approval because you're able to raise the money based on the quality of a script and the attachment of actors. That's not the case anymore. So the role of programmers has become very crucial. I think he's in his own universe, his own world. He's a protean talent, and I think he has his own universe, and I have such a high respect for it. And I think it's amazing that he's living now a lot in my own city. But I think he's in touch with his childhood imagination in a way that I can't comprehend. Like, he's able to be in that world of a child, but do it with such a passion and a fierce intelligence and curiosity, which is so specific. And I'm.
Maybe a story happens here in Mexico. Some
Mexican characters.
Yeah.
Mexican story.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I can't speak for him, but I just, as I say, I'm. Yeah. Oh, well, about me.
That if you like to make a story, the story happens in Mexico.
I'd like to do a remake of The Criminal Life of Archibaldo de la Cruz. It's one of my. Yeah. No, I'm joking. I mean, no, but I mean, there's nothing that immediately. I had a great day fishing for marlin yesterday, and maybe I'll make a film about that at some point. But I think Hemingway has done a better job.